What's going on, guys? Welcome to Titan Town for another Tennessee Titans video. Now, unfortunately for the Titans, Matt LaFleur has left the offensive coordinator job for a head coaching job in Green Bay. So that leaves a position open for the Tennessee Titans to hire a new offensive coordinator. So I've looked into did some research, looked at a few guys and who I think the Titans might look at to fill that new offensive coordinator position. One guy that really comes to mind, who I actually looked at last year before Matt LaFleur got the job, and actually wanted him myself, is Marcus Arroyo. Currently, he is the offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator slash quarterback coach slash tight end coach for the Oregon Ducks, but he wasn't there at the same time Marcus Mariota was. But you look at Justin Herbert, if he would have entered this year's draft class, he would be considered by many the top quarterback prospect in this year's draft, but he did not enter. He's had experience in the NFL, and this is where I kind of connected the dots. He was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the same time John Robinson was for John Robinson's last year. He was the interim offensive coordinator for the Bucks for John Robinson's last year, and that was actually the first time in NFL history two wide receivers went over 1,000 yards in the same season as Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson. Both had over 1,000 receiving yards. He was a running back coach for Oklahoma State in 2015, and Justice Hill broke the freshman record for Oklahoma State running backs per yards. He's had experience coaching every position on the offensive side of the ball aside from the offensive line. So if we brought this guy in as our offensive coordinator and brought in a stud offensive line coach, we would be set up very, very well, I believe. I feel like looking through his track record at things he's done, what he's really good at is pinpointing what your team is good at, what your team can do, and then maximizing what they're good at and really elevating their play on doing so. The next person on my list is formerly a offensive coordinator who agreed to part ways with his team, and that is Jim Bob Cooter. And you might ask, why would Jim Bob Cooter want to be the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans? And I'm thinking because Jim Bob Cooter is from Tennessee. Maybe he wants to get closer to home. He was the quarterback coach for the Lions in 2014, and then the very next year he was promoted to offensive coordinator. While he hasn't really shown a lot in his track record for really being a good ground game type of offensive coordinator, which is what we're strong at, he has shown promise in helping quarterbacks and helping wide receivers be great. He helped Matthew Stafford throw for over 4,000 yards for 4 years straight. So maybe he can come in and help out Marcus. He has proven himself to be a competent play caller. So those are the two guys that I feel like are most likely to get the job. But then you also have guys like Hugh Jackson that a lot of fans are going to throw out there. We know what he can do as an offensive coordinator. I think he's the type of guy who is not a good head coach, but a good offensive coordinator. I don't feel like there's really a high demand for him to be somebody's head coach, especially after his last stint with the Browns, going 31 going into this season or something like that. So I don't think he's a good head coach, but I think he's a good offensive coordinator. And that hire would bring a lot of continuity from year to year because there's not going to be a very high demand for him as at a head coaching position. I feel like Marcus Arroyo could come in and really show off with the Titans, and then maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, somebody might be interested in him in a head coaching position. I feel like Jim Bob Cooter is pretty much set as an offensive coordinator unless he comes in. The Titans just do absolutely spectacular. Hugh Jackson, I think, could come in and we could have him long term. Another guy on my list that I feel like fans are going to be throwing out is John DeFilippo. He kind of got a raw deal in Minnesota with such a terrible offensive line, new quarterback having to learn new players, new language, and all that. You've seen what he did in Philadelphia working with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, so he could definitely help out Marcus Mariota. His play calling, I don't know too much about it personally, but I see his name being thrown out there by a lot of fans. I don't know how he was as a play caller. At the very least, he got some learning experience in his time in Minnesota. Going through this list and really trying to connect the dots with the coaching tree, Mike Vrabel doesn't really have a lot of branches in his coaching tree currently, unless you look at former players, which I don't know what former players are currently coaching around the league. John Robinson also. So there's really limited when it comes to connecting the dots. But one guy who I did find who is connected to Mike Vrabel is Sean Ryan. Currently, he is the quarterbacks coach for the Houston Texans. You've seen what Deshaun Watson has done for the last 2 years, but he's also got experience coaching wide receivers as well as quarterbacks. his most notable players that he has coached is not only Deshaun Watson, but he's also coached Eli Manning the year that they won the Super Bowl, taking down the undefeated New England Patriots. Odell Beckham Jr., he coached him as a wide receivers coach. Victor Cruz, he coached as a wide receiver coach back before he got hurt, and his career really went downhill. Excuse me. So he hasn't had a chance to be a play caller, but we know that he's good at coaching quarterbacks and he's good at coaching wide receivers, and he is connected to Mike Vrabel. So that could be a real possibility. Moving on, Mike Kefla. He doesn't have a ton of experience. He's in his second season as a quarterbacks coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason I looked at him is because you got to think Andy Reid. He has a ton of success with players coming from his coaching tree and moving on to upgraded positions and having a fine career afterwards. Mike Kefla actually played quarterback in the NFL. He was drafted in the 2010 draft, played several seasons as a backup quarterback. He appeared in 4 games throughout his career. He was on the practice squad a little bit, but he's had 2 different quarterbacks pass for over 4,000 yards, 2 years in a row. He was also on the coaching staff when Kareem Hunt, rushed for over 1,000 yards. Although he wasn't a running back coach or a play caller, he was still there. He's still seen what's happened. He's still been around Andy Reid, learning from Andy Reid for the last 2 years. So he hasn't had a chance to make play calling. Excuse me, I was getting tongue tied there. But anyways, this is a guy that I was just thinking, Andy Reid's had success with his coaches coaching under him, moving on and having success. Also, we look at Doug Peterson as one of them who just won the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles last season, is in the playoffs, going to the second round this season. So, anyways, guys, that's my list. Be sure and comment below. Let me know who you think should be an offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, who you're looking at, who you're hoping for. I really personally wouldn't feel comfortable with any in-house hirings. I know they want that continuity from year to year, working off the success that we had last season, but just these guys are unproven that we have on the staff currently, and I just really don't know, except for the tight ends coach. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. I ain't looking at my notes for this, but anyways, guys, hope you have a great day. God bless, and tighten up.